Hey everyone, RogueGold here, and today we need to have a chat about the Division Heartland. Obviously, this week came with some very exciting news for the game, despite the fact that I don't believe Ubisoft actually intended to release any. They did put up a listing for the game on the Ubisoft Store website, which came with 4 never-before-seen promotional images. I think that was the main attraction of the whole thing, but there was other information on there as well. I will link the video I did covering all that stuff in the upper corner right now if you would like to go check it out. Now, since then, that has all been taken down, but considering this leak, quote-unquote, was part of, or it was on Ubisoft's own end of things, right? It was on their own website. It seems as though there aren't strikes being dealt out like with the previous leaks, and so we get to keep these 4 images, so to speak. And because of that, ever since Tuesday, a lot of conversation has gone on about the game, from people's thoughts on the gameplay information to when people think we're going to receive more information and when the eventual release of the game might be, as well as the game's tone and the general feel people are taking away from these images. There have been a lot of opinions formed and conclusions being proclaimed that I think might be a little premature. Of course, everybody is entitled to their own opinion on any video game. The entire industry is entirely subjective. However, I'm of the mindset that it's kind of hard to judge a game based off of promotional images alone, especially when not even a split second of official gameplay has been publicly released. And this is what I see a lot of people doing right now, is making these very rigid, scathing judgments when all we have to go off of is an accidental, unplanned listing on a website. So that's what I want to talk about today. Let's get into it. So, for those who weren't a part of the conversation, or who may not know what I'm specifically talking about, let's recap some of the discussion here. In general, out of the 4 photos, this seems to be the one people are taking the most issue with. Reasons for that I've heard: it's too colorful for the usual tone of the Division, their clothing isn't nearly tactical enough, they're lacking body armor to look more realistic, and those are certainly fair criticisms, right? And I can understand those viewpoints and see where those people are coming from. But what I think is problematic is the conclusions that I've seen people drawing from the basis of those reasons alone. I've seen statements like, this looks like a kid's game, this game is just going to have Division in its name without actually feeling like the Division, this game looks so cheap, I have no hope for this spin-off. Those are all legitimate statements that I've seen across YouTube and Twitter. And again, everybody is entitled to their own opinions. I'm not questioning that. But really, you're going to base all of those claims off of 4 still images? One image, really, because let's be real, if you actually take a look at each of the other 3 images, what about this one? If this was shown to you, or shown to someone else side by side with a similar promotional photo of the Division 2 to someone who's a non-Division fan, they would not be able to tell the difference. This feels extremely authentic to the Division for myself personally. You've got several agents across the intersection here, fighting both one another and the Vultures, who are the AI faction. Looks pretty sick, if you ask me. Or this, the overview image we got of Silver Creek, the game's setting. How does this give off cheap game vibes or unauthentic vibes? You've got a pretty gorgeous skybox, cool lighting down on the street, an iconic flare up in the sky in the background. Some agents are moving through the town using different elevations. That looks like the Division to me. What I really think is going on here is that people are letting their skepticism take over, which I'm not arguing against, to be clear. We've been waiting 10 months now for any sort of news about the game, and the first official thing we're receiving is an accidental website listing with some 1080p images. So I understand people's frustration and skepticism, but I don't think that warrants writing off the game or making these extreme conclusions just because you don't like the way 1 or 2 of the images were portrayed. I've even seen people saying they don't like the art style of the world. Like, it looks like it's not made on the same engine, which it is. They think the character models look worse than in the Division 1 or 2. Are you kidding me? These are very meticulously articulated sets that the artists have created to try and promote the game. These images are not in their highest resolution. This is not an accurate representation of the type of gameplay or experience you're going to be having when you play the game. And that's the big thing right here. There has been no official gameplay released. We don't know what kind of gameplay features or mechanics await us. Hell, take it from me. I don't think that website's information can even be fully trusted. It had typos, incorrect studio listings. It was clearly not meant to be published yet. There is still so much about the game that we don't know, and this is just the tiniest of slivers of information. And I'm not calling for anyone to be less skeptical or less judgmental about the game as a final product. You have every right to be, but at the same time, you also have to give it a fair shot. And there is no way that you can make any sort of argument that this game can be objectively judged based off of these 4 leaked quote-unquote images. Now, with all of that said, I also want to raise another point, is that I think some of these people are correct to a degree. I do believe that the Division Heartland is going to be a very different kind of experience from the one we're accustomed to in the Division 1 and 2. I could have told you that back in May of 2021 when this thing was announced. the game is going to be free to play. That in and of itself is an indicator that it's aiming to tackle very different objectives as a game. It's likely aiming to attract new audiences beyond just the people who already play the Division 1 and 2, and I've tried to stress this to people in my comment section, that's a good thing. If you're a fan of the Division and you want to see it continue to succeed, grow, and receive more content for years to come, then you should want Ubisoft's vision of the Division universe to succeed, and that cannot be done by sticking with the same formula indefinitely. Now, don't get me wrong, I absolutely want the Division 2 to continue what it's doing. The franchise started as a looter shooter, and the mainline series should always stay that way. But as I was just saying last week when talking about the Division Mobile, that game should strive to attract its own audience as well as the existing fanbase. Heartland should strive to attract its own audience while also enticing the existing fanbase. The fact of the matter is, not every Division fan is going to love each and every endeavor that we see from the Division universe. But that's okay, even if you don't like the direction that the Division Heartland ends up taking, you can still enjoy and love the Division 2. They don't have to be tied together. Hell, there's plenty of Division 1 fans who refuse to play Division 2, saying it's like the worst game of all time. You can't please everybody, but you have the best shot at pleasing the most people by diversifying your IP's portfolio. And if the Division can attract new audiences to Heartland in a way that the Division 1 or 2 couldn't, I see that as nothing but a win for the franchise as a whole. And if you're a fan of the Division, I hope you can see that as well. And just because some dude in the promos is wearing a hot pink and blue jacket does not mean you're going to be forced to wear that too, okay? With that all being said, if you are someone who has seen these images of the Division Heartland and you are now worried that they're going to abandon the game's tone or betray its authenticity or anything like that, let me just say this. Many of you know that I am a die-hard Division fan. I'm still critical when I need to be, but I adore this franchise through and through. And so I would be the first to complain if Ubisoft started betraying what made the Division special in the first place. Back in May of last year, when the Division Heartland was announced, it instantly became the upcoming content or project for the universe that I was most excited for. I didn't really have much to go on, but I was super excited by the vibe of the artwork image we received and by the fact that Red Storm was being given their shot on a solo outing. I was then, maybe or maybe not, a part of the closed test that occurred later that same month, and by the time that test concluded, my anticipation and excitement for the game was on another level. Practically nothing the Division 2 could announce or do at this point could make it surpass my excitement level for this upcoming spin-off, because I know that it is going to be a brand new, truly unique, but unmistakably authentic Division experience that so many of us have been looking for a long time. And if there's any doubt left in your mind, forget those staged promotional images and just look at the game's cover art, which I can now show without getting copyright striked, thankfully. This game, this experience, it's going to be epic. It's going to be the Division. You deserve to be as skeptical as you please with it, but at least wait until you can see the full scope of what we have coming our way, because I guarantee you, whatever information was on that store listing, it's truly only the beginning. Thank you all so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and be sure to subscribe with notifications on so you can be updated every time I upload. Let me know your thoughts on this whole controversy surrounding the Division Heartland. Are you one of those people who perhaps was let down by these promotional images? And if so, let me know why, because I don't really think there's a lot to get upset by without seeing any sort of gameplay. But as always, I will be very curious to hear your own thoughts. That is going to do it for me today, everybody. Once again, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and until the next one, guys, RogueGold out.